I'm Tom Friedman. I'm foreign affairs columnist for the New York Times, and I'm here today with Bill Gates, and we're talking about America's future, issues of competitiveness, education, and technology. You know, you were one of the people I first talked to about the world is flat. So when I wrote The World is Flat, you know, Facebook didn't exist, Twitter was still a sound, the cloud was still in the sky, 4G was a parking place, LinkedIn was a prison, applications were what you sent to college, and Skype was a typo for most people. Bill, all that happened in just the last 6 years. And you've seen this in your business, but I want you to talk about what do you think that means for innovation? What are you seeing of the impact of going from this now connected world to what is really hyper-connected?
Well, that's where you get this big paradox, is that the speed of innovation in the world today is faster than it's ever been, whether it's in medicine, energy, IT. You know, our deep understandings of these things are advancing on a global basis, and the internet has actually been a tool to supercharge a lot of the collaboration and big data type understandings that we gain. So it's interesting to contrast the rather, fearful mood about the future that the United States finds itself in, and the fact that innovation is continuing to improve.
And from here too.
There's more innovation taking place in this country still than the whole rest of the world put together. Now, over time, that will shift, and they'll carry their more fair share of the burden. But in all these fields, the most interesting work is still largely in the United States. And so it's a kind of a paradox that when you ask Americans, is your future going to be better, that about 60% said no, that they were fearful the next generation was going to be worse off. And that's amazing to me, because it is innovation that carries us forward, that will make diseases better. And you know, innovations don't go backwards. We're not going to.
We're building on it.
We're not going to, go back to manual steering or VHS tapes. The internet's not going to slow down. It's going to get better. And so it really must speak to our fear about our relative position, our concerns about political deadlock. I mean, it's a paradox that the popularity rating of a popular elected body is so low.
Do you feel sometimes, Bill, when you look, though, at our politics, we were talking about Congress, so low rated, in terms of public opinion. Do you feel sometimes, your foundation, you're working on all these things, that ultimately they can't scale without good public policy? Is there something, do you think sometimes, I've got to get more involved in politics, I've got to get more involved in the public policy because all these good things we're doing won't scale? Or are you and I just sometimes, maybe we're just exaggerating, it was always like this, is there something worse now in terms of the nature of politics, the nature of media, the nature of the way public issues are discussed? Are we in a worse place now? Is that what's slowing us down?
Well, I think the big thing that's missing is this technocratic understanding of the facts and where things are working and where they're not working. And I do think when things were less partisan, there were people in the Congress who would sort of go and say, okay, my committee is where I'm going to spend my time. I'm going to get to know transportation or housing. And
they became real experts.
They were competent, and they weren't put to some acid test of party loyalty. They really were there, and experts would come into their committee, and they would do various things. And so it was a somewhat more technocratic government. Now, as you get this polarization, because government's falling short, you get very simplistic views of, no, government shouldn't be in this at all. Yes, government should be in it massively, as opposed to, well, give me how much you want government to be in, and here's the best way to spend this money. The mathematics of the taxpayers say, cut my taxes, but nothing that I know about. You have one party, here's half of that message, and the other party, here's the other half of that message. That's not mathematical. You mentioned in your book, That Used to Be Us, the idea of a third-party candidate sort of coming into the debates and saying, it's all nice to hear what you two guys say, but what you said doesn't add up. Let me tell you, voters, how even if you cut spending a lot, that you have to raise taxes, and unfortunately, you can only get some portion of it from the very richest. You're going to have to raise taxes a bit more broadly than that and cut spending. So, I'm bringing you bad news. It's called reality, that this guy over here is only telling you part of reality, and this guy over here is only telling you part of reality. Those guys would then, the debate would improve to have that sort of numeric
literacy
person in the debate, and then the newspapers would be saying, yes, he is mathematically correct, and then the public's going, wow, okay, this is tough. There is no easy way to make the ends meet, but over time we'll have to do that. So any place you can get technocratic logic
into the
discussion, and how we do that moving forward for healthcare, energy, education, I don't know, but I think democracy, despite all this mess, somehow it will find a way. I hope it will.